Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello again, everybody. I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith, and welcome to another episode of the Hoosier Football Tailgate right here on the Believe Network. Big Thursday night, getting ready for the Maryland game on Saturday. Hurricane Helena may be making an entrance as well, especially tomorrow, where I believe in the Bloomington area you could see up to about an inch of rain. Right now, the forecast for Saturday is for only a quarter inch of rain. So probably good chance that the majority of the rain will get through on Friday, but there will still be a little bit of an overcast, rainy day, but it won't be one of those torrential downpours that we'll probably face a lot of tomorrow. One thing we want to take care of here is our sponsor, Bet Online. BetOnline is the number one sports source for all things sports wagering on any platform, desktop, phone, iPad, you name it, you can get to it. BetOnline has all your up-to-date stats for games in college football, NFL, the WNBA, and of course the baseball, Major League Baseball with the pennant races getting ready to kick off. And don't forget about the big opportunity there with the NFL pot of $200,000 on a pick'em type of contest. Get all the information at betonline.ag. And remember, if you get bored with that, you can head over to the online casino to take part in some poker or blackjack. And then, of course, don't forget, over 150 different types of slot machines available for you to try your luck there as well. Remember, Bet Online, the game starts now. And also, remember, with us and the affiliates that we have with us here at Hoosier Football Tailgate, you can find that information on my bio feed, Linktree access, as well as go to that and hit on the shop button. It will take you to all of our affiliates, or go to HoosierTailgate.com and also find a link there. If you would happen to purchase something from one of our affiliates, by all means, we appreciate you 100%, but also understand we'll get a little commission from that sell, and that way we're being fully transparent and upfront as it pertains to that. But big game coming in here on Saturday with the Hoosiers taking on Maryland. It's going to be a game that will be the biggest test to date for the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll talk a little bit about that. I'll give you a little bit of my feeling on where Indiana is at in terms of their record and who they've played versus Maryland and who they've played. Does that mean anything? Does it change the outcome potentially? You'll wait and find out on what I feel on some of those things that some people take a look at and maybe give a little bit more to, or lend much more weight to than someone else. But big thing there is Hoosiers right now have I think they're a 7-point favorite on most of the sports betting sites, with an over-under of 55 the last I heard. But that's a pretty fair representation of this ball game. It may go lower. Remember that it's a noon kickoff to be telecast on BTN. We'll take a look at the tails of the tape. We're going to take a look at statistical data that tells us a little bit about both these football teams, offense, defense, and how they compare to each other, as well as take a look at Maryland's two deep and who they've got back, maybe who's gone on, moved on. But take a look at the team that kind of laid one on the Hoosiers last year down in Maryland. And we'll look at also the keys to win for the Hoosiers to win this game on Saturday. some things that I think they have to accomplish in order for them to get a win. And then last but not least, we'll head into the Coach Griff video room to get a full detailed scouting report on the Maryland Terrapins from their offense and defense, a little cut-up action. We'll talk a little bit about that, get a chance to sink our teeth into all of that type of information. Just remember, you can participate in the conversation if you have a question or a comment. By all means, feel free to put it in the comment section there, whether it's YouTube or I don't think you can do it on Twitter, but I think it's on YouTube or Facebook. If you want to participate, awesome. We'll try to answer those questions as they come through. And then also, we want to make sure that everybody's aware of some of these crazy situations that are going in college football right now. And I'm sure some people have heard of this. Before we jump into the Maryland Terrapins, the UNLV quarterback who has played very well in UNLV's undefeated season to date, led him to a big upset of Kansas. Well, he has entered the transfer portal and is no longer going to play for UNLV because they believe, and his representation believes, that he is due $100,000 from the NIL committed to the kid to transfer there from Holy Cross. What's even more interesting in this whole thing is UNLV's comment as to why they don't feel they have to make this payment is that it falls under the NCAA's rule of pay for play, which is illegal, as well as some other language that they use that made no sense. But the gist of it was this quarterback and his representation, company that represents, NFL and social media type of individuals, received a verbal commitment to pay $100,000 in NIL upon this quarterback entering and being accepted to school at UNLV. Well, that all happened in the summer, but after all the games that have been played into the start that they've got, he's decided to enter the transfer portal and utilize a red shirt and move forward. So things are getting wild now with this, and I don't anticipate this to be any different. Remember, a player can play in 4 games before they have to make a decision on whether they're going to be redshirted or not. So that's one of the big things, is making sure that if somebody wants to enter the transfer portal, let's say, or the coaches have got a young man who's, whether it's a freshman or somebody that's has not used a redshirt year, technically after this game, I believe they have to decide whether they're going to redshirt them or not, and that information has to be turned in. So that's the gist of that aspect of things. But UNLV not only loses their quarterback to the transfer portal, they also lost their star running back, who says it has nothing to do with any NIL disagreements. It's something to the extent of opportunities, and you can read up on it. But some crazy things happening in the universe, especially when you talk about a team that's done so well to point, UNLV, and them losing their starting quarterback over a NIL disagreement. So I don't think he may be the first, but he sure won't be the last that happens to. And you can see how this could cause a little bit of disruption if something like this would occur. But again, you'd have to do it no later than the 4th game if that was your intentions or something was amiss. So anyway, enough of that, but that goes in the world of college football to be aware of and what is kind of happening out there right now. But let's talk a little bit about Maryland football. When you think about what we've got coming in here Saturday, an experienced team. Mike Locksley has done a heck of a job at Maryland. When you look at his track record over the last few years, he's put them in a position to have success. He did that last year, and they did capture that, had a great win, 8-win season, I believe. And he's done a great job at Maryland as it pertains to some of the things that they've been able to accomplish. Had a great quarterback last year. They still have a pretty darn good quarterback this year. But got a lot of respect for him as a coach, known of and actually knows a little bit Mike Locksley through different relationships and things of that nature, or guys that have worked with him on previous staffs, and they all hold him in high regard. So very good detail-oriented head coach, and some good offensive minded guy too. So that from that standpoint, it's going to be a pretty good matchup against Sig and Coach Locksley. Let's look at a little bit here of this tale of the tape and kind of what it all's going to amount to with this. As you can see right there, when we look at this, Indiana is averaging 50 points a game offensively. Maryland's defense has only surrendered 17 a game on average. You can see the rush yards very high for the Hoosiers, and Maryland's defense is barely giving up 100, so they're very similar in that with IU, and then the pass yards in that realm, and then of course total yards. So Indiana's offense does on paper look to provide a great challenge to the Maryland defense. When you look at third down efficiency and what Indiana's accomplishing, they're about 59% on the year of converting their third downs, which tells me that they're getting a lot of third and mediums or third and shorts, very few third and longs, and that would be 7+ yardage. Also, with that, Maryland has that's a pretty good defensive deal there for their third down is 34.48. So it's all in that regard a good sign there from their defense, which in some ways does resemble what Indiana is on defense, even structurally. Red zone touchdowns, Indiana, 20 of 24. That is phenomenal to have that high of converting red zone chances into touchdowns. So that is, that is a really good thing there, where Indiana is doing everything right, and getting about 90% of the time touchdowns inside the red zone. And I know I think they are 100% scoring in the red zone, meaning they either get a touchdown or a field goal. Maryland's defense, 4-13. As you can see, they're very stingy in the red zone. They really have a tendency to bow up and play even better than they do between the 20-yard lines. So again, that will be a challenge that will be interesting to watch Saturday between IU's offense and Maryland's defense. Those two dynamics, third down efficiency, red zone opportunities. As you can see there, Indiana's offense has only given up 3 sacks on the year. Maryland's defense has 7 on the year. And their defense is a little bit what I call a vanilla defense, and more structural balance, where they're not going to send or blitz a lot of people or do a lot of pressures. They're kind of play it straight, slant and angle the front, and play coverage, whether it's a two high safety look or a one high safety look. But they've got 7 on the year. Turnover margin 7 each. They're all +7. So there's no different advantages there in that script when you look at it. Then you look at Indiana's defense compared to Maryland's offense. This is where it gets really crazy. Indiana's defense has only given up 9.25 points a game. That's just nuts. Maryland's offense is giving up, or Maryland offense is getting about 35 points a game. So that's a big differential there. Rushing yards, Indiana, really good. Only about 75 per game. Maryland about 155 per game. And you look at the pass yards that Indiana surrendered, no team has really had a great chance to move the football against this Hoosier defense. Only giving up 199 total yards of offense to opponent. And then Maryland's offense is averaging 464 yards. So again, there's a lot of positives in Indiana's columns. We'll talk more about that when you talk about who each team has played. Now, third down efficiency, Indiana's really good defensively, 29%. Even in the mid areas, they're pretty darn good, but they're getting offenses in third and longs more consistently. And then Maryland's offense, about 52%. So pretty darn good for their offense. That tells you they have been efficient on first and second downs. Red zone touchdowns, Indiana's defense has only surrendered 3, but opposing offenses have only reached the red zone 6 times. And they've only surrendered 3 touchdowns. That's really good. And then red zone touchdowns for Maryland, 12 of 18. That's definitely not too shabby as well. Indiana's got 12 sacks on the year, where Maryland has given up 7. So there's been a sign that they can get to the quarterback with this defense. So that will be an interesting dynamic to watch. 2, their quarterback, is not as elusive as last year with Tua's in that regard. But that was, I think Indiana can get some pressure on them. Don't necessarily think they have to go a lot of blitz pressures, but really where Indiana is at defensively is a microcosm of what Coach Haynes and this defensive staff are all about. They're all about creating havoc and making it hard for you to either run or throw the football. And they do that by giving different looks and bringing different pressures. So they've done a really good job in their game plan. This will be their most difficult one to date to put together, and how they're going to defend Maryland. And even the same thing can be said about Indiana's offense. This will be their most difficult game plan against a Maryland defense that's really, not too far behind Indiana's. Overall records, this is what I was getting at. Indiana has the opponents they have played through the first 4 weeks of the season. Total are 3-12 on the year. 3-12. That's FIU. That's Western Illinois. That's UCLA and Charlotte. Those 4 teams' record, I believe, is 3-12 on the year. Where Maryland's schedule for the first 4 games is 11-5, and they've played 2 big-time opponents, Michigan State and Virginia, and then UConn, and they played Villanova this past week. But even Villanova is 3-1 on the year. So when you look at the schedule, Indiana's definitely has not been a world beater of a schedule based on the opponent's 1-loss record to date, where Maryland's has played a little bit of tougher dynamic. So when you look at these statistics and things, this is, to me, is where you've got to be realistic in that, understand that these statistics that Indiana has are padded only from the standpoint of the opponent they played. And why I am not trying to sit here and say that Indy, they're not deserving of being 4-0 and, things like that, you still got to go play the game. You still got to play who's across from you. IU's football team, or Coach Signetti, has no control over the schedule. This schedule was in place. They got out of the Louisville game to add Western Illinois. Scott Dolson felt this was a great way with a new coaching staff to try to give them some help in that arena. He's done that. But that's why you got to be overly cautious with some of these statistics, because they're definitely not against defenses that Maryland has faced to date and the opponent's win-loss record. Now, scoring averages there at the bottom that I've showed on the let's go back to this one here. Yeah. Down there at the bottom, I don't know if you can see that all that too well, but Maryland has outscored its opponent in the first half 68-30, while Indiana has outscored its opponent 115-31 in the first half. In the third quarter, Maryland has outscored an opponent 33-17, Indiana's 38-3. And then when you look at the fourth quarter, Indiana has only surrendered 3 points. So they're only giving up a total of 6 points in the second half, and their offense is drawn 499. They have got a scoring differential defensively of 30 points compared to Maryland's defense, and then offensively 63 point in the plus column for Indiana. So both offenses and defenses have done a great job of winning the first half, second half battle when it comes to scoring in a certain quarter of the year. But in that third quarter, where most people are going to look at it, it's pretty consistently for both of them. So again, there's not really much of I guess you could say, a differential. Than the Maryland's defense has given up more points than Indiana's defense. So that's all relative in the matter. So I say that as a qualifier as to why Indiana is off to such a great start. They still are performing at a high level, irregardless of who they played. But you do have to understand that their opponents that they've played against to date is 3-12, and Maryland's is 11-5. And this is why Coach Signetti has been really pretty upfront and honest with some of the things that he's discussed or said out loud, is that this is going to be by far the toughest game to date on their schedule. And it's Maryland, and they got to find a way to get a W, and they will. I mean, that's the bottom line with all that. So in that regard, you can't be too burdened with the kind of the tails of the tape in that regard. It's one of those things where Indiana's still performing at a high level offensively, and it's one of those things that you got to be just conscious of when it comes to Indiana and the schedule that they've played to date. Let's see here. Hold on. All right. Let's get on over. Let's see here. I want to get over to the two deep before we jump anything further into seeing what is all up the two deep offense and defense. So we're going to do that right now as we push forward. And this now the games for their last starts. I don't know why Indiana doesn't give out a two deep roster. I've noticed that of late. They don't have a two deep roster that they give out, whether it's in their game notes or just a special flip card that you can get the starters of each and every game, and they're two deep. So most teams do. It's when they trade copies of game material, that's part of it. But I don't know why they don't give it. So that's just a quick question in that regard. All right. Let's look at their offense. Billy Edwards Jr., redshirt junior, very good quarterback right now, has graded out pretty decently in the PFF grading portal in that regard. Right now, he's completing about 70. Right now, it's he's had 18 career starts, so he is an experienced quarterback, including 8 starts a year ago. So when you look at him, and while he's a redshirt junior, he got a lot of reps the last couple of years. Running back wise, Hemby is a really good running back. They've got some other guys that fit the bill as well. So you're going to see more than just Hemby there at the running back spot. And then Prather, he's one of their top receivers. He gave Indiana fits a year ago, and he's still a really good one. But Felton is the guy that's having a great year thus far. He's got over 447 yards of receptions, and that is by far the leader in the house as it pertains to their number one wide receiver. He's got 4 touchdowns on the year. I could see Pons lining him up across from Felton quite a bit on Saturday, because he's by far their best receiver in big plays and things down the field. That's not to say that Prather is chump change, because a year ago he had 42 receptions and almost 700 yards, and you can see he averaged 15.9 yards a reception a year ago with 5 TDs, and that's a pretty good deal. Looking down here with some of the other guys, is decent. He's more in the blocking arena, but their offensive line is pretty experienced. Bunyan, 33 career starts, so he's done pretty well. And this gentleman here, again, 39 starts for Colton Berger. Big boy, 6'6", 308 pounds. So that's a big dude. And then the last one is Heron, their tackle. He's from Jamaica, and he's a transfer in. I think he went to Shorter University. That's in Georgia, D2 school. But he's got 25 starts of his career. So a rather, I would say, experienced offensive line in that regard. So things to be aware of. Let's get over to the defense now. If I can get over there, we'll see. Oh, why is it going to do this now? Ask me if I want to say something. Okay. Defensively, as you can see, they are a 3-man front, 3-4 defense, same as Indiana, with their up front guys pretty stout, pretty big, strong guys. Fuller just got into the starting lineup, I think, week 2. He's had 2 career starts this year, but 39 career starts because he's a transfer from Florida State as well. So he's a guy that can make some things happen. Phillips is another good body there and at the center position. He's making his 19th career start. And then Tommy here has made 35 career starts to date. He's probably, in my mind, their best defensive lineman, or in terms of sacks. He's got 3 to date, but if, Fuller is the one that has a career best of 5 sacks in his career. He had 3 last year. He's got 1 this year, as does Tommy. Then the linebacking core, pretty decent linebacking core. Wheatland, 27 career starts. So he's a mainstay in their backfield. At the linebacker position, solid player. but Hypalot and Wyatt, to me, are the two really good linebackers. Hypalot had 47 unassisted tackles a year ago, 1 sack, 2 TFLs. He is a really, really good football player and can give you fits if you don't account for him and do some things to keep him at bay. And then Wyatt, he's got 27 career starts. Now, this kid at the Sam linebacker position, so you're going to see Hypalot and Wyatt type of guys that may end up on the outside rushing at times. He's got 6 career sacks, 1 already this year, but he had 4.5 sacks a year ago. And he's got 2, almost 3 TFLs on the year. But Wyatt and Hypalot are good foot. You can expect them to cause some problems. Let's see what we got here. I'm having trouble with my mouse. Let's get to the second. It figures I'd have a lot of problems with this tonight. Okay. DB, Fisher and Husky, 24 and 18 career starts for those 2 cornerbacks. Whoops. It looks like we have an error. But sometimes the computer does not want to work to the degree that you want it to. So we're going to allow that to do its thing. I apologize for that. It just kind of, boom, went out of service there and wasn't liking something that I was trying to accomplish there. And sometimes with some of these apps on my machine, they have a tendency to occupy a lot of resources on top of me trying to send stuff through. It can be a little bit too much for the old computer when you're trying to do too much. So we'll let that be for right now in that regard. But again, it's a defense that is experienced. It does present some problems when it comes to protections with those 2 backers. And then I do think their secondary is susceptible. And this is where guys like EJ and Donovan can become big time players in this equation, is because, they got a size thing with the guys in the secondary that they may be able to go up against in some jump ball scenarios. So it's one of those things that it would be nice to see if those 2 guys are healthy here and there to maybe take some shots with them. But we'll just have to wait and see when it comes to that, because right now they did get in some last week, which was nice to see, but we don't know where everybody else is at in sync with them as an offense in terms of their ability to be computer is giving me fits. With those 2 guys, getting an opportunity to go one-on-one on the outside. So definitely you can see why Maryland is a good football team where they're at. A Michigan State game, Michigan State beat them there. It was a good ball game. And Michigan State had a redshirt sophomore quarterback who's pretty darn good. And they found a way to beat them there in the second half. So it's one of those things that they're definitely a really good football team, but that's not telling you guys anything that you don't already know to date, we can say here. So let's see. It's still to give me fits. I don't understand this. We're going to jump into the coach's room here and video room that is sponsored by Quick Cut Software. kind of the number one software that you can utilize for game editing for high school, college, doesn't matter. But they've been really good to me here as it pertains to providing me some software that I can show you some things on the show. So we're going to see if that's working appropriately here in a second, if I can get the appropriate thing up in that regard. Let's see here. All right, let's get to, I think we got it right here. There we go. Take a look at it. We'll look at their defense first with a few clips, not too many, but we'll get to the defense first. And I'm trying to get my iPad situated here and not try to do it in any stretch of the imagination. But I like to try to give you guys a little bit of understanding of maybe how they could attack a defense or how other teams did. And, you know, like I do with Indiana, when I talk about from their perspective, what was good, wasn't good. Hopefully this does give you guys some, a little bit of insight here and there, but let's go out here and see for a second. But again, like I said, tonight has been a rough night for me with everything because everything just doesn't want to work the way I want it to work. And right now it's been a little bit of a pain in the you-know-what in that regard. So let's get this thing rolling here if I can. My mouse isn't working correctly. All right. Okay, here we go. Now we're working and rocking and rolling. All right, this is against Virginia. Now, Virginia had a pretty good start to the year. This was a really good ball game as well. I believe it was a Thursday night game 2 weeks ago. But this gives you a little bit of their look or stature as a defense. Let's see here. You got three guys up front. You know, these are the three big fellas right there. Here's the linebackers. That'd be that'd be a Sam-backer, corner. Here's the Will backer. That may be Hypalot is at the top, and I think it was the other Edwards, if I'm not mistaken. This is a two shell that they're going to roll down into what I call cover one, because you can see based upon alignment and how these guys are looking at their defense. This guy is looking at him one-on-one, and so you can see where they're going to be in some type of man-free concept with a little bit of pressure with this offense. So there you go. You got the Sam-backer coming at the top. You've got the backer down here at the bottom bailing, and they're moving to a kind of a 3 deep, playing true zone in behind it. And you got the true look of what this defense is when it comes to their responsibilities in this thing, because you know that let's see here. He's coming down. He's hook curl. He's in the hook curl flat, deep third, flat, hook curl. And that's kind of how their responsibilities will be for this particular play. And we'll let it run because I don't want to get caught up on too much of this stuff. But a nice throw and catch by the quarterback there on that particular play. 2nd and 4. Now you see they jump into a 4-man front with just putting one of the backers' hands in the ground, which is that guy right there in this scene. So this is the strong safety, corner, free, deep, and then another corner there. And they're probably going to do some type of zone pressure in this one. See how they're rolling down there with the safety coming down? And there you kind of get what they're looking to do here. Now, this is just an inside zone play that Virginia runs very well against that front. Here's another 2nd down look. Now, this time, they're going to bring a pressure, will backer, another backer, zone blitz look. And this guy's going to play light. He's got a third. He may have half or man-to-man. That's the two options that you've got as a quarterback. It's either man-to-man or there's zone blitzing you with the fire zone. And so, that's where Curtis has done tremendously well, is recognizing those things at full speed. See, like right here would not be a great place to hand off because you're running into a unblocked player. So in that one, this is the one where this quarterback, he gets it off and he makes a nice play, but you can see that he's going to take a shot here. So again, you're bringing this guy down here. So 4, 5. I think this is a 5-man pressure against Virginia, and Virginia was more of a passing team. They brought 6 that time and played man free, but look at this catch and throw. That's just a really good decision by the quarterback that he was able to get that playoff. Again, standard 4-man front, so you can see that they'll mix it up a little bit, and Virginia had a lot of success running the ball against these guys for the better part of the game. Now down here, they go through a true outside zone play, and kind of was a nice thing. This is where it gets junky because they're playing what you would call the bear defense, the Buddy Ryan type of philosophy, where the guard, center guard are covered. These guys, these defensive linemen, though, that are inside here, he's lining up on the inside eye to outside shoulder of the guard, inside eye of the tackle. And you can see that you've got all these other guys up into the fray. So there's a lot of bodies in there. It makes it difficult to run. And it's just one thing that can get kind of junky when you look at it. But this is what you don't want to do. You see how they got this strip here? He scrambles. He's got the ball hanging low. You got to have that ball higher. And his own tackle hits the football and causes a fumble. And Maryland recovered that. So that was one of those plays where they avoided giving up any points. 3rd and 7, you can see the vanilla like they like to play with this particular play. 4-man front, as we see it here, little cross blitz, but you can see the man coverage, and it's one-on-one, and this quarterback, I just don't understand the decision-making here. You're getting pressure, and you're looking for the throw, and the back trips. That doesn't help him. Tight end just runs himself covered, and I think he's trying to throw to the bender, number 8. Well, he's covered. So they've got you here. So the best thing to do is throw it away, but he forces a throw, and it ends up as an interception, and that's not what you want to do. Let's see here. Rudy, I believe, has a question here. Let's see if I can pop it up here. Sorry if I missed that. How's their secondary? Their secondary is, I say, average to a little bit above average. I don't think they're world beaters in any stretch of the imagination, Rudy, but they're definitely going to be a little better or on the same level, probably as UCLA, I would think. So it's not, it's like I said, it's not a world beater situation. I want to get to another clip down here before I switch it over to the offense part of it. Here, I'm just going to let 3 plays run here because this is where you get to see Maryland doing a lot of different things when they get down there, and they're up in your face. They're challenging you. You got to win this battle. This is the bottom line. This is where, to me, if you've got, if we can get Donovan in a position to go one-on-one with this guy, that's hopeful. But this cat doesn't even beat this guy, and the quarterback tries to throw it into him, and it's lucky it doesn't get picked. But it's just not a very good route, in my opinion. The guy doesn't do enough to stem him, and it was very much a bad decision to throw that football. And so now you're back to 3rd and goal, and now they get in a double tight situation, and they're going to try to throw it again, and Maryland gets pressure and forces the field goal. So, I mean, as you can see there, it's not something that they're one thing or the other, but they are a good defense that has some experience and pretty good fronts. Front six are pretty decent, or better than what Indiana's probably faced to date. Okay, here's their offense. Again, this is against Michigan State. They took the opening drive against Michigan State and went down and scored. They run the football effectively. Their quarterback, Edwards, I think is a scrappy type of player. I like him. You know, you're going to see a multitude of formations, in and out of his hands quick. I mean, that's perfect throw. This is what, just watch this action by the quarterback here on the bubble screen and how quick he gets it in and out of his hands. And Curtis does the same thing, that, you get to those guys in space, and next thing you know, you're throwing a ball that's 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and it goes for 8 yards. All right, here's another one. He's going to take a shot here. Takes a shot downfield. That's Prather. Now, they don't connect here, but as you can see, number one is a good route runner. He does a good job. He stems him. He gets back on top. He's got to hit this one. I'd like to see him dive for it, but you can see the fact that they got some dudes that can down the field now. Here's one that was just a great throw. I mean, this is a good call down here, and a lot of offenses run it. And what you're going to get is this guy kind of doing a hitch, and this guy's going to do a fade route. And with that guy all the way over there, it's pretty much a great call by their offense here. And man, Edwards just lays it in there. Great throw, but that's to number 10. That's the other dude now, Felton. And then, so you can see what they are as an offense. Again, he does a great job of staying in the pocket here. Whoops, we'll go back to that one. Watch how he stays calm in this pocket. It's 3rd and 6, that medium area. So he stays calm in the pocket. They give him great protection, and he's able to get the ball to his third option for a big play. Here's the speed of the running back I wanted to show you. I mean, that's pretty good. This cat, I mean, if you look at this play, he just outruns people here. So he's got some speed, as you can see. Bad angles by Michigan State to a certain degree there with everything. And again, tight, compacted formation, a quarterback that can not only throw it, but he's a threat to run it. So Indiana, as a defense, will have to be smart in making sure that in situations that they have somebody accounted for him, because if you don't, he'll burn you. And just like here, he's walking into the end zone for a touchdown for, a nice big play. So he's a competitor now, and they're a good football team as an offense with him at that position. And so you can see that offensively, they can cause some problems. And they're an offense that has a big play capability, very similar to what, IU can, with Surratt and Price and some of the things that they've gotten big plays from those guys. But with Felton and Prather, those guys are a threat to take it at the distance, especially if they get them in a position where they can make a play and, 50-50 ball. They got a chance to take it the distance. So Maryland is definitely a football team that Indiana has to take completely seriously. This is going to be a game that me as a coach, former coach, I'm anxious to see what happens when Indiana gets punched in the nose, and how do they respond to some adversity where things maybe don't go as planned, whether it's offense or defense. Do they do something to make that aspect of things and how they handle themselves in that regard? Rudy, no, they do not play two quarterbacks. They have Edwards as their main guy, and he's going to be their main guy. So he is their guy to come hell or high water, and they haven't played or had played anybody to date yet that back there with him. But even though they had Tua again last year, Tagovailoa, he got a lot of playing time because when he was hurt, he started, I think, 8 games last year. So he's an experienced quarterback in the Big Ten. He knows what to expect. But this is a game, like I said, I'm interested to see if and when Indiana gets punched in the nose, whether it be offense or defense, things don't go as planned. How do they handle that adversity? Because they haven't had to really face that. They faced it here and there against UCLA some, but when you look at Western Illinois, FIU, and even in Charlotte, there were a couple times you could say, well, there's some adversity because they gave up 14 points in the first half. But I'm talking when, things are happening that you haven't seen happen yet, offense or defense, and you're thinking, what the hell is wrong with these guys? That's the type of adversity I'm talking about. Indiana's not doing very good on first down or those type of things. That's the type I want to see, because that's the one thing that Coach Griff preaches very diligently, and he's even alluded to it in some of his press conferences where he says you have to have poise, you have to persevere, you have to control the controllables, one play at a time. Don't let the last play beat you on the next play mentality. So these are things these kids and his blueprint and his approach to coaching they've been doing since day one. So they've created this adversity in practice where, they have a sudden change and the defense has got to go out and try to hold the offense to just 3 points. Or they have a situation where the offense you need a 4-minute drive to seal the game. Those type of things. They've worked on it. They've done it. But until you get in the game, to date, Indiana, for the first 4 weeks, has not had a lot of situations that have called for a lot of adversity in the first 4 games of the season. And okay, Robert says the picnics are over. Okay, well, to be quite honest, the 2 teams that Maryland has played for their non-conference games outside of Virginia. So they had Virginia, that's a plus, and Michigan State, Big Ten game. UConn and Villanova were their 2 true traditional outside of Big Ten land type of teams. And so everybody has them. And they won them. They won those games. So you can't take any away from them, just like you can't take any away from Indiana being 4-0. You got to line up, play the game, and look and make your decision on what you think those games look like from your viewpoint. So the first 4 games for me, while they're playing teams with a combined record of 3-12, I look at the efficiency of what Indiana's doing and how well they do it. Now, whether or not that translates into something on Saturday is to be determined. But don't get me wrong, you're correct. It's Big Ten, but that's for every team in the Big Ten. It's the start of the Big Ten schedule. We're talking week in, week out from here to the end of the year. You're going to talk all types of different weather conditions. We're going to see it Saturday. Probably most likely will be a windy day, and then the potential of rain as well. And and I hope that doesn't impact the crowd. I know that we're expecting a decent crowd for Saturday. And that's the one thing that is now it's, what they call nut cracking time. You got to come to every week to play. And I don't disagree that they're not going to come every week to play. We've seen that from them. But, hey, you call it the way it is. And the differential between the two teams, what is it? I hope I've kind of given some example of it. By no means am I disregarding the fact that Indiana has, performed at a high level. And I do think Indiana will beat Maryland. Now, I don't think it's going to be, a 14-point differential. That's my opinion. I think it's going to be a tight ball game. It may be one of those games where it's a 24-21 game or 35-31 type of game. So it's going to be a close one, no question. But I do think Indiana will get the win at home, and I do believe they'll move 5-0 before taking on Northwestern. And next week up in Chicagoland, and we'll see how they get by this one, and we'll worry about Northwestern next week. Remember, if you've got any questions or anything that you need to ask, you can email me at HoosierTailgate55. Okay, hold on here. Do I think IU linebackers are undersized? No. I know what you mean, with especially like Fisher, why he got recruited by James Madison versus why he wasn't recruited by a bigger program. He may be a step, an inch or two shorter than what you may ultimately like, but I don't care. I'd take that kid every week, including Walker as well. Those kids, they play hard. They make tackles in space, especially Fisher's their leading tackler. Dude makes plays all the time. I just love that kid. I'd take if I could get 22 players like Aiden Fisher in different shapes and sizes as a coach, I would take them because I just know what you're going to get. But anyway, if you got any questions, by all means, don't ever hesitate to either drop me an email at HoosierTailgate55 and also that's a Gmail account, HoosierTailgate55 at Gmail. And then, of course, if you reach out to me on any of the social media platforms, if you got a question or anything, just let me know. I'll try my best to answer it. I do appreciate guys stepping in the room tonight and throwing some questions up there. So much appreciative of your support and your interest in the Hoosier Football Tailgate here on Believe. But for now, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and this has been the Hoosier Football Tailgate right here on Believe.